Can anyone catch Scottie MFing Scheffler? We are at the penultimate event of the PGA Tour. It is the Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club. Top 30 players and points on the PGA Tour will be going at it this weekend. Staggered start in terms of strokes. We're going to get into the whole thing, preview it. Also going to tell you guys about some crazy things that we've heard happen on the golf course and go through some of the worst things that can happen to us or you on the golf course. Going to talk a little fantasy football, and we have our weekly segment of Fairway or Fore. All right, let's tee it up. Big drive energy hump day. I've had a day already, but it's noon here in Denver. Football season's upon us. It's 2:00 where you are out there in the East Coast area, and we've got Tour Championship week. Can't believe it's already here. It's kind of insane. But before we get to all that, I want to talk a little bit about fantasy football because it's football season. First of all, let's go fantasy football. So how's your week been? You're back away from the Colorado area. We're not hanging out anymore. You're just back in your teaching grind. How's that going? How's it being back on East Coast time? What's the life like right now, brother?
Dude, it is pretty hard bouncing back and forth between time zones. Like there was a point last week where I went from Colorado to Chicago the next day to New Jersey the next day. And I just had no idea what time it was. My body, it's more about your body clock, like you can't fall asleep. And I think my body's kind of permanently on mountain time. So I just generally stay up later out here on the East Coast, and I generally sleep in more. So that's kind of a problem. I mean, if I was having to wake up early, then I probably would just do that. Like I don't necessarily have a problem waking up early, but it is a little bit hard. I've been playing some golf though. We talked about in Chicago, and then I played again with my girlfriend and her friend the next day, and that was a lot of fun. I'm hitting it pretty well. We are kind of gearing up for a trip to Wisconsin to play some golf and do some exciting stuff out there for a couple days. So I definitely want to be hitting it well when we get out there. I don't want to be struggling. I don't want to be looking for a bunch of balls.
Well, you're already going to be looking plenty for my balls, which you're good at finding them. So that's why I keep you around, just to look for my balls, because you're.
You think I'm like a truffle pig?
Big truffle pig. And that's why I always wear pants when I play golf. I tell people that, they're like, why are you wearing pants? Because it's so hot. Because I need to look for a lot of golf balls in the weeds. But speaking of that and playing golf, we're going to Wisconsin late September, going to play some golf. But I got a text today from the Colorado PGA to sign up for I think just the Pro Championship or the Pro Championship qualifier. I don't know exactly what it is. It's at Valley Country Club. And I was like, maybe I'll play in this, maybe I'll get some MSR credits and play in this to keep my PGA membership up. And it's September 9th and 10th. It's a Monday, Tuesday. And I started going through and looking at it. And then I just think about how much I would need to practice or how much I would embarrass myself if I didn't practice. And I just closed my phone and kept driving. I was like, nah, we're good.
Well, first of all, it makes total sense that you're looking at it while you're driving, because that is your favorite thing to do. But also, the ultimate cop-out is just if you're like, I just didn't practice. If you play like shit, you're like, yeah, I got a kid now. Your kid is your ultimate cop-out for everything. Like, if you're not good at your job, if you're not good at anything else, you're like, I'm a dad. I don't have time for this. Whatever it is, I don't have time for it. So you're keeping another human being alive, you and your wife together. So between the two of you, that's your excuse for literally everything. You want to leave anywhere, you want to not go somewhere, you have a built-in excuse for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I feel like I do. And I also don't want to go play like shit, though. Like nothing would like make me feel worse about myself than going to this Valley. Like Valley's not that tough of a track. We've played it enough to where at least I wouldn't be showing up, going in raw. I would have a little bit of lube going in there, but I don't want to show up and just like fire 86, 82, or, even 79 might kind of get my stinger up a little bit, but I just don't want to do it. I know there's going to be guys
Breaking 80 for you is like
well, like
yeah,
in
I
a
just got to
tournament,
break 80 today.
in a tournament scenario, I have not played a ton of golf this summer. I've actually practiced more than I ever have, just going to the range at Inverness a couple days a week or once a week and hitting balls and actually focusing on my putting when I forget to bring my actual golf clubs to the course. Go to the car putter. But I just don't want to show up there and shoot 85. It just doesn't sound very fun to me. And I don't want to look at the leaderboard and have to scroll to like the second or third page to see where I'm at. So we'll just leave it at me hitting good golf shots and scrambles that we play and me feeling really good about myself. I also got my back figured out yesterday. Shout out Mario Vintanzi. Went to him. We're back. My back is back. So I'm good to go there. Went on 3 different walks yesterday, just moving around, feeling good. So I'm not.
So what did he tell you about your back? Like what you just had a tweak followed by like spasms?
Yeah, so he didn't tell me, like he couldn't really diagnose what exactly happened because he kind of worked on my entire back, but there was one point where he had like something under my hip and then my other arm behind my back, and he just like leaned on me and my whole upper spine was just and it felt so good. And then he also like did some stuff with my neck where he like popped it up. And I have this chronic like thing behind the left
Hump
side of my
neck?
neck. Well, yeah, I mean, you can call it that. You can't really see it a ton. Maybe now that I don't have hair, you can see it a little more, but it's kind of like a bump type of scenario. And it's just like where you can tell it's like a stress point or like a point where there's like muscles just like up in a little bump. It's not like the big C or anything like that.
I was gonna say, do you feel like you need to get that looked at?
No,
Like,
it's
what the fuck's going on?
it's purely muscle based, but
You have muscles in your neck?
yeah, everybody has muscles in their neck. That might be one of the dumbest things you've ever fucking said.
What that neck do? What are you doing with your neck?
A lot of moving it around apparently, but he's like, "Ooh, that's a little angry one." He could feel it, and then he just like fucking pulled my head up, and it was just like kind of went down a little bit and felt a lot better. So I'm ready to roll for some more golf this fall. Fall golf is the best, anyways. But I'm back to mobile. I'm not breathing like that, doing those kind of things. That's never
Dude, there's
fun.
literally nothing worse than tweaking your back. I will say though, so out here, the weather is getting significantly nicer because today it's like 92, 93 degrees, and then tomorrow the high's like 78, and it's supposed to be in the 70s for the foreseeable future. So I am thoroughly looking forward to that. Definitely playing golf again Friday. We've really got college football starting tomorrow night, which will be a good time. Maybe CU will lose to North Dakota State, start their season off nice and hot. But I actually wanted to talk about fantasy football because I don't know how much research you've done, but I just keep seeing Kyron Williams' name all over everybody's draft boards. Like he's like a top 5, top 10 pick. And I'm like, what is going on? So like, what direction? First of all, let's give a rundown. How many leagues are you in? And give me something like your favorite players that you like to draft consistently.
Okay, so I'm in a league with DNVR staff. So I'm in that one. I'm in
You don't need to tell us about who you're in what league with.
This has a story to it. Just fucking chill out, okay? So I'm in the DNVR Staff Fantasy League. I'm in a league with us and our buddies from the golf course, if you will. Those are both on Sleeper, great app, by the way. And then ESPN, this is why I want to tell this, because I actually got like a little sentimental this morning, kind of wild. It tends to happen to me from time to time when I'm like really hopped up on pre-workout or it's like early in the morning and I'm getting shit done and I'm just happy about life. But I was thinking about the league we're in that we all text all the time too, our brothers league, because we were talking about spiders and fucking other things. One of our buddies is in Italy right now, so he's sending over some pictures. And then I sent a picture of this sweet orb spider that I got outside my back door. But long story short, That's a group of 8 of us. And I like mixing up the fantasy leagues. I think our DNVR league has 14 people. Couple leagues I'm in have 10. Couple leagues have 12. That one has 8. So that changes it because like I like having the same players, but at the same time it changes the way you play. It's not like, oh, I have a 10-team league. I'm starting these same guys every single week. It like changes the, the waiver wire. It changes all that stuff. But I was getting sentimental about our brothers league because like that's the coolest shit ever. To think that 4 sets of brothers that are all about the same age, the older ones and the younger ones, and we're playing in a fantasy league together as like a group. Like that shit is cool as fuck to me. We've had the most arguments in that chat. We've had people freak out. We've had people do other things, but overall, that's just an awesome thing, awesome league. And then I'm also in a league with my Elizabeth friends, a little less serious. And then I'm in a league with my friends from college. And then I'm in a league, at a Yahoo league. Me and my wife co-own a team, which is kind of fun, except for when she yells at me for not starting someone when she asks me and I tell her and then she wants to start someone else. That's fine. That's beyond the point. But all my leagues are a little different, like different groups of people. I said no to like 3 more because I'm done at this point. But I'm in that many leagues, however many I just said, 7 maybe. And the guy I've been drafting, honestly, the most up until this point is probably Jordan Love. I'm like, he's going so late, and there's like these runs of quarterbacks, and then Love is not that guy. And I'm like, dude, this guy's got a stable of great receivers. They added, who's a running back now? Who's the
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. Like, they're going to have a running game, and he tore it up last year. So Jordan Love's probably my go-to guy, but I've been in so many different weird spots. I've also done like a not fully no running backs, but like not drafting running backs for a while either and getting guys later, like Gus Edwards from the Chargers. Like, you don't think Harbaugh is going to just run it down people's throats? They have no receivers. Gus Edwards is one of my favorite targets too. What about you? How many leagues are you in? You don't have to go into the full story,
No, I'm just in 3 leagues. So I feel like that's a comfortable amount because at one point, you get into like how many leagues you're in, 6 or 7, and you just feel like you're rooting for everybody. Like you could have this guy on your team in one league and be playing against him in another league. So it hurts you here, but I just feel like then you have no rooting interest. If you have too many leagues to play in, then you just can't even like narrow down who you're rooting for. So that's why I kind of like laid back on the number of leagues I'm in. But do you know who I think is going to be a top pick for me? Is either going to be Josh Jacobs or Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a really good year at the Vikings. But there's always just, there's always sleepers every year that, like last year, Puka Nacua, whoever got Puka was just super high. But then it almost feels like Puka's like, the book's out on him now. Like, is he really going to have another like crazy fantastic year? So that almost makes me want to go in like the Cooper Kupp direction because I like Cooper Kupp and he's just a dude that I want to. Do you remember like teams that you won leagues with and you're like, it kind of gets you like wanting to draft that team and kind of remake it?
Yeah, so when I first started playing fantasy way back in the day, I had a team with Michael Turner and Roddy White, both from the Falcons, and they shredded for me, and that's what I wanted my first championship with was a Roddy White, Michael Turner team. So, and I've always been the no running back thing, I was kind of reading about it on Twitter. That's where I got into it, but it seems a little crazy to me, but I've always been a no quarterback guy. You get a quarterback, but I'm not drafting one until I have my receivers, my running backs, my tight end filled out. Like, I'm not drafting a quarterback for a while unless there's just like a crazy run of quarterbacks and there's nobody really good left. There's a crazy run of the other position. And then there's like a really good, like a Josh Allen or Mahomes or whatever in like the 3rd round. You're like, well, I kind of should probably just take him and the rest of these guys suck Wang the next 10. So, like that's when I'll go and get like a Mahomes or something. But I like to get the late round quarterbacks and like they do just as well. Like Gardner Minshew is startable this year in multiple games. Like he's got Devontae Adams, whatever. Like you can go week to week and find a quarterback, but you can't go week to week and find your 2nd or 3rd running back that's going to get all the touches. That's going to get all this stuff. And another guy, I'll give you a little hint here. Although we are in a couple leagues, so I don't want to give
I was going to say you're kind of showing your hand here.
a guy that's going to have a massive season to me is Kyle Pitts. Like Kirk Cousins is going to throw for a shitload of yards. Pitts has been in the pits his first 2 years of his career with shitty quarterbacks like Desmond Ridder, and he was drafted 8th overall. Like the Falcons have weapons, and Kirk Cousins, whether or not like it's going to be interesting to see how good Justin Jefferson really is when he's got Sam Darnold throwing in the ball. But Justin Jefferson was a product of Kirk Cousins. Like yes, he's a great receiver, but you can't amass the most yards in the first 3 years of a career in the NFL ever without somebody throwing you the football. So, Cousins was a big product of that. If Cousins is healthy, I think Kyle Pitts, he's like my tight end in all my leagues. Because everybody keeps taking Kittle way too early. And I'm like, well, Kittle's fucking 1 point or 30 points. So I'll stick with a Pitsy. And tight end's gotten so weird nowadays anyways. Like it's kind of a lame position.
No, dude, like Laporta is definitely a tight end that I had Laporta last year. And I think I won one of our leagues with Laporta, so I felt good about that. But I'm also very weird in the fact that like I will not draft or play players on teams that I like have a tough time rooting for. And for some reason there's certain divisions like I don't like drafting anybody in the NFC South. I don't like any New Orleans Saints. I don't like the Bucks. I don't like the Falcons. Like I can't root for any of those teams. I can't root for the Raiders. I cannot root for the Chiefs. I can't draft anybody on the Chiefs. I will say like the NFC North, I like drafting Packers. I like drafting Bears, Lions. Speaking of which, did you see Tim Patrick just went to the Lions?
Yeah, good signing for him. He's going to be solid there.
Well, yeah. So we basically the Broncos traded Tim Patrick for Josh Reynolds, who was basically the reason they didn't go to the Super Bowl. So that was pretty wild to me, at least. But like, I don't know. Like, we'll see. Obviously, there was money that was owed to Tim Patrick, but I like drafting Lions as well. I like like Bijan Robinson's another guy where it's like, okay, so all of a sudden he's going to be this breakout guy when last year he was...
I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Lucy Nicotine. Lucy Nicotine is 100% pure nicotine all the time. They're available in pouches, gum, and breakers. If you're not a pouches person, you got the gum. If you are a pouches person and want to level up your nicotine, go to the breakers. I just finished a berry citrus breaker, but I've got mint here. Mint, I'm really getting into the mint flavoring. I didn't like it at first, I'll be completely honest, but now that I have it, I'm enjoying it as well. And the great thing about Lucy, there's multiple great things, but number one, they're big, thick pouches. They when they stick in your lip, like it's just like it feels good in your lip. And then the cans, they come with the basically reusable part, or the part where you can trash them at the top, and that comes like with the plastic can. So it's incredible that you don't have to litter, you don't have to wait for a trash can, you don't have to put them in your pocket when you're done with them. Just put them right on top of the lid and you can go on to your next one. There's so many different flavors. There's mint, there's berry citrus, there's espresso. I'm a big 4 milligram guy. It's like a perfect, it's enough of a buzz, but not quite knocking me off my socks with an 8. So make sure you're leveling up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/BDE and use promo code BDE to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy. If you change your mind, that's lucy.co. Use code BDE to get 20% off your order. And as always, free shipping. Get set up with a subscription, get it delivered to your door, makes it super easy. Here comes a fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Also want to tell you guys about our friends over at Shady Rays. I messed up on Saturday or Sunday night, our late night evening happy hour show, talking about the BMW Championship. I didn't have my Shady Rays on. I don't feel like I did my best work, so my Shady Rays are back on today. Still waiting to see on this protection plan. I got some that broke, so I'm going to see how good this protection plan really is, because they will send you back no matter lost, broken, stolen, whatever. They'll send you back a pair of shades at no cost to you. So make sure to check out Shady Rays and use code AC35. They're shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered, and they're premium, they're polarized shades, and they won't break the bank. Incredible for golf. I have the Green Wolves with the polarized lenses. I will not wear anything else while out on the golf course. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out their best deal of this season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Bijan Robinson is, what were you saying about Bijan Robinson?
Dude, okay, my microphone, I'm about to go Office Space and just throw this thing out the window, but I feel like he's just so overhyped. Like, all of a sudden this year he's going to get a million touches, and I will say the Falcons are going to be a lot better, but you watch somebody like, because I was super high on him last year, and then he ends up splitting touches with Algier, however you pronounce this guy's name, and he ends up vulturing like all the goal line touches, and Bijan Robinson's just getting yards, but he's not getting any scores. So he's another dude where I just am not that high on him. I think Joe Mixon's going to have a good year. I'm pretty high on the Cardinals offense. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. could have an awesome season. Trey McBride
Kyler is a great
definitely
fantasy quarterback. Kyler Murray.
Oh, dude.
He's going to get 30 to 40 plus rushing yards. Yeah.
Yeah. Any of those dual threat dudes are awesome. I've never drafted Josh Allen. I feel like that'd be a roller coaster. I feel like Saquon is not getting as much love as he could be getting. I feel like he's going to shred it with the Eagles. And he's not even is he getting picked in the top 5 in your draft so far?
No, I don't even remember when he went, but I think it's like either late first or maybe mid to late first, depending upon how many teams are in the league.
That's insane to me. I think that he's going to have a really good year. But I also like the Commanders. I think are going to have a much better offense. There's just a lot of different teams. Another team that I cannot draft players from is the Dallas Cowboys. I cannot stand rooting for. Shout out Greg Gomez. Hopefully he's watching this. Can't stand rooting for Dak, CeeDee, fucking Ezekiel Elliott again. Whoever their fucking white slot receiver of the week is. I can't stand those motherfuckers. Actually, wait, is Jake Ferguson their tight end?
Yeah.
Okay. Ferguson, he was with the Texans, wasn't he?
No, you're thinking of Dalton Schultz, who was a Cowboy and now is a Texan.
Okay. Ferguson, okay, he got drafted from somewhere. But yeah, I wouldn't mind Jaleel McLaughlin in the late rounds either. I think that he's going to have a good season. Javonte could have a good year. There's a lot of sleepers out there. Another team that I like to draft from, and then I'm done, is the Seahawks for some reason. I just like rooting for that team, oddly enough, because what they did to the Broncos was an all-time offense in my eyes, but they are a team that I have no problem rooting for. I can't really draft Niners either. They just don't do it for me. Chargers, same thing. I'm just very weird when it comes to drafting players. So I actually, Malik Neighbors, I think, as long as Daniel Jones gets him the football, I think he's also a very good pick this year.
Yeah, I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw. I don't trust him as much as I trust one of my first swings off the first tee in terms of Daniel Jones. So
okay. I was going to say Neighbors or Jones because, I don't trust Danny Dimes either by any means, but I just think that Neighbors feels like he's got so much potential to pop. I think Will Levis could have a good year too. You never I think he could.
Titans are I looked at their roster and they actually got a sneaky good defense. They still have DeAndre Hopkins and stuff. So, all right, let's move on from the fantasy football talk. Let's talk a little bit about golf. And so you sent me this story a week ago, and we were going to talk about it last pod, kind of got too into the weeds like we just did for 25 minutes on fantasy football. But this is a crazy story that happened on the golf course. And then you also have, to piggyback that, another insane story that actually real life happened to you. So why don't you get into the story that kind of went viral on Instagram and then tell us about your real life personal story.
Okay. So this Instagram story, it's on Zyre Golf. It's from Golf Reddit, and Reddit is just the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. You can just be on that shit for hours if you're familiar with Reddit. I know Spencer is not really a Reddit guy, but once you kind of download it and you get into different golf and the stock market and all this shit. You can just go for hours. But guy misses daughter's birthday party for a tea time. Wife met our group on 18 with divorce papers. So basically, he shows up to the tee on hole 3. We get heavily backed up, and one of the guys said that he needed to be done by 11:30 because of his 13-year-old daughter's birthday lunch was at noon. I immediately knew he wasn't going to be on time. Fast forward to hole 7, his wife calls and he tells her that he's only on hole 5, but will come home after 9. He then turns to his buddy and says, "She's 13. It's not like she will remember if I was actually on time for her birthday lunch." Around 1, then they make the turn. He said that, everybody thought he was going to leave. They make the turn. He walks out of the clubhouse with a bag full of beer. He's like, "I'm not fucking leaving." Jordan Belfort meme. I'm playing the back 9. And then on hole 12, his wife calls again and he tells her that he is sobering up in the parking lot before driving home. They get in a huge argument and he hangs up. Around 1 p.m. on the 18th hole, we hit our approach shots and see a cart riding over the marshal and a woman. Turns out this guy's wife previously had divorce papers written up and decided to serve them in the funniest way possible right on the 18th green. They got in a huge argument and he storms off in his cart, leaving his buddy behind. So just an all-time, like, that is truly, a lot of people care about golf. That is a next level, like, you're throwing away your entire life for golf. That is just something that is beyond the realm of me even, like, wrapping my head around that shit.
Yeah, I'm getting like anxiety thinking about the fact that he didn't just leave after 9 holes just to make sure he was on time. I do hate, like, golf. One of the biggest issues with golf in general is how much time it takes to play. And that's something we learned in school all the time. Like, the amount of time that you have to commit to playing, and then weekend rounds can sometimes be 5 or 6 hours. I wish there was a way to figure it out. I think there's really no way around it. But there's nothing more stressful than trying to play golf before you have to be at something. And then you are like, okay, we're playing 15 minutes a hole. You're like keeping track of it in your mind. When am I going to finish? It makes for a non-fun golf round. The best golf rounds are when you just have time. You don't have to be anywhere afterwards and you can just chill out.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too, though, where it's similar to like going out to eat and somebody sits down and they're like, "We only have a half hour." It's like, okay, why didn't you go to fucking McDonald's then? Like, if you don't have time to play around a golf, don't go play around a golf. Like, you need to actually have the 5 to 6 hours set aside to get to the course, to warm up. You don't know what's going to happen on the course. If you're on any sort of time crunch, it's like when you're sitting in traffic and somebody's like flying by you because they're late. It's like, it's not my problem that you're late. You know what I mean? If you're the one rush person on the golf course, and albeit like a round shouldn't take over 5 hours, 5 hours on a weekend, in my opinion, at a public golf course is relatively reasonable. You're going to be doing some waiting, and it just depends on who you're playing with and all that. But 5 hours is relatively reasonable, anything under 5 hours. But if you're somebody that's like, I need to be out of here in 4 hours, well, then just don't play, because then you're making it everybody else's problem that's on the golf course, in my opinion. I don't know what you think of that, but I feel like the person that's rushing around the golf course is like the worst person to be around, because then you feel rushed, or like the group behind you. It's like, it's similar to like when you're sitting in traffic and everything's backed up in front of you and somebody flies up next to you and like cuts you off in front of you. It's like, where the hell are you going, dude? Everybody's slow. Like, there's nowhere to go in front of me. So what if I give them a couple car lengths? I'm not up their ass. That doesn't mean, that I'm being slow. It's just so fucking annoying with.
Yeah, well, I'm like the guy that's the hurried golfer. So that's one of the things for me is I tend to be that guy that's like trying to squeeze in golf before a certain thing. And I like have this 4 to 5 hours, and sometimes it works out. Like, one time I played Inverness and I played in like under 4 almost, or like pretty close to that. And so I kind of am on the other side of it. I haven't had a lot of days where I just go out there and play and like have the full date. Essentially, I kind of usually am like, all right, after this I got to get home or do this. So I'm kind of on the other side of it, but I think it's insane the fact that somebody got literally divorced on the 18th hole. I mean, that wasn't a one-time thing. That guy's missed more than just his daughter's birthday for a round of golf. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds kind of like the the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm sure there's other things going on, but that reminded me of when I was telling you, or when I sent you this post. I was playing in the Rocky Mountain Open a couple years ago, and I'm riding with this dude, this random guy from Arizona, pretty cool guy, probably around my age, in like his mid-20s at the time, and he's not playing great. Like, neither of us are playing great, and then he gets a text message, and it's one of those things where I'm generally an oversharer. Like, I share too much too early for sure. But he starts telling me that he was hooking up with this girl, this random, like, it was like a one night thing. And she just texted him like 2 weeks later and said that she was pregnant, and it was his for sure. Um, so he's in the middle of playing, and he's like trying to make it on the mini tours. He's got like no money. He's scraping by. And all of a sudden he gets a text from this girl that he hooked up with that she's pregnant. I was like, holy shit, that is absolutely insane. But what was even more insane was then he turns it on. He made an eagle and 5 birdies in the next 7 holes. He was like 6 under the next 6 holes, or 7 holes, something like that. Like, I don't think he ended up, maybe he made the cut on the number or right around there. But I was like, holy shit, dude, you just need to get that text message every time you tee it up, because something just flipped inside of you and you just turned it into 2022 Tiger Woods. Like, I was, yeah, it was the wildest thing I've ever been a part of. And it's one of those where
the dad strength came immediately after just finding out. You didn't go through the 9-month pregnant chick process or the birth at the hospital.
Just thinking about child support had him fucking making birdies like his life depended on it. But it's almost like when you are at the blackjack table or something, and like you're betting like 10, 20 bucks, 30 bucks a hand, and somebody next to you is betting like 300, 500 bucks. You almost stop caring about yourself and you start caring more about what they're doing. It was like one of those situations where I was way more concerned with what was going on with him than my own round of golf. So that really didn't benefit me. I'm like, it felt like he was kind of burdening me with his fucking story a little bit. I'm like, dude, I don't have that shit going on. I'm just trying to make a cut here. I'm just trying to make a paycheck, make a little bit of money. And you're telling me how you're knocking this chick up that you met 2 weeks ago. Like, it absolutely most insane story I've ever heard on the golf course.
Yeah, it's just something that I don't even know how I would have made 6 straight 7s, maybe, and that's maybe light if I would have found that out. Like, your heart just has to sink completely down past your butt into your fucking thighs at that point.
Oh, dude, I can't imagine a worse situation to be in. And that's a crazy thing, is like, he's from Arizona, so there's really nothing he could do at the time, but you cannot focus. I feel like I would not be able to focus on anything else but thinking about that shit.
Yeah, it's completely consuming your mind at the time. Maybe that's what helped. Maybe that's the key, is he was so consumed by figuring out his next 5 to 10 years. How long ago was that? He's got like a 5-year-old now or some shit, probably.
Yeah, he's probably got like a 3 or 4-year-old. It was like 5 years ago. Let me ask you this though: do you remember where you were when you found out Kylie was pregnant?
Yeah, we were in London actually on a Broncos trip.
Oh, okay. So you found out she was pregnant then. I couldn't remember if that's when it went down and then you found out like 2 weeks later, or you found out you were pregnant then.
Yeah, no, that's when we found out. It was quite the adventure. And speaking of adventures, when you go on your next adventure, check it out and use Rugged Road coolers. Make sure you're using a Rugged Road cooler for any adventures that you may have, whether you're going to the lake, whether you're going camping. They're an incredible product. They're super light, easy to carry. We use them here for all of our tailgates. And they're the one coolest thing about the Rugged Road coolers in general is they float. So they float upright. You don't have to worry about losing a drink ever. You're just worried about how many drinks you can consume and how many that the Rugged Road cooler will hold. So make sure to check out Rugged Road Outdoors, and you're going to be able to save 10% off with our code. So go gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code ALLCITY for 10% off. I love these coolers, man. It make my job so much easier when I pick them up and I can carry 2 at once. I'm gonna have to test my carrying skills with my new comfortable reformed back after Mario did some work on it. But hopefully I don't get back into some sort of hole and it starts hurting again the second I pick something up. But I am definitely very careful now whenever I take my backpack off, or my backpack sits in my passenger seat. Like today I went to grab something, pick it up, and I was like, hold on a minute. Let's make this nice and easy.
Yeah, you gotta be a little bit more aware of your back now. You're becoming an old man.
Apparently. Let's talk about the Tour Championship. So it is the final week of the regular season, well, the final week of the playoffs for the regular-ish PGA Tour season. It's, there's still going to be golf to be played. We've got the President's Cup coming up towards the end of September, but this is kind of the penultimate week for what we've been talking about since January 1st, since the Tournament of Champions. I'm already kind of excited thinking about it coming back around just because the tournaments in Hawaii are so electric. But we've got the Tour Championship this year, played as always at East Lake down in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you want to start us off with your ever famous weather report? Are you ready for that? Because we're back to, or what is it? Over to you. What was the name? I actually did
Cutter.
some research today.
Isn't my name Cutter?
Cutter Martin. We're headed over to Cutter Martin with Atlanta 5 News.
What's going on, everybody? This is my best Southern accent. I sound like that one comedian. I forget what his name is, but he's very funny. So this week for the Tour Championship in Atlanta, we have got ourselves a scorcher. It is going to be hotter than I can't say that on the podcast, so I'm just going to leave that. So I don't really. Oh my god, I'm losing my accent. I want to start like an Australian fucking British accent. This is going downhill quickly for me. I can't really regather myself right now. We've got nope, I can't even do it.
Now you're Australian. What the hell's going on here?
I have no idea. I'm panicking in my voice. I can't. What's up, y'all? I can't find my Southern accent. There we go. So Thursday we've got dude, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to read the forecast. Thursday's 94 degrees. It's probably like 80% humidity. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. Billy Horschel's going to be sweating through his hat again. He's going to need a new one. Please, Billy, whoever's Billy Horschel's sponsors, please get him some new hats. Because that thing, I can smell it through my TV. It's disgusting. Friday, 92, sunny as hell. Saturday, 93, sunny as hell again. And Sunday is 90 and overcast. But either way, like, it is just absolutely asinine that's like going to play. That's like choosing to play in Buffalo in like February. You're playing in Atlanta in the hottest month of the year. I know they're not really going to change the site, but holy shit, like this is borderline heat stroke weather out here in Atlanta this week. So I am glad I am not those guys. Cause that remember going to Charleston? Like you've gone to Charleston like when it's hot, right?
Yeah. Not too bad. I usually go in like March.
Okay. Well, we went in May this year and it was like 95 and that type of humidity. And it legitimately is just no fun whatsoever. Like, even if you're playing for $25 million, I don't give a shit. It still sucks. So there's your weather report for the Tour Championship. I would like to formally apologize to everyone that I let down. The accent, it was my last one of the year and I fucking blew it. I may have to, should I do one for the President's Cup just all in French? I could write out a translation and read it in French. We would probably get canceled though, because it'd be just such a fucking bad rendition of it. But I'll have to redeem myself at some point because that was just not good.
Yeah, it's kind of let down for the last one of the year, but it's okay. It happens. It's actually probably pretty funny content listening to you try to stumble through it and then going to an Australian accent and then this and then that. So we'll let you prep a little bit more you could honestly make up a fake weather report even if you just write it out beforehand. Get yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the mirror, say it a few times. But we will. Is it French? Is
You
it in France, the President's Cup?
it's it's in Montreal, which is
Oh,
generally French. I
okay.
will say though, you sprung this on me fairly late. I didn't feel prepared. Like this was a 2 hour ago type of thing. Like you're like, you want to do a weather report? And I'm like, fucking sure.
Well, I feel
But
like
it
we do
just
this for everything, so you not knowing is kind of on you, I would think a little bit.
no,
But
for sure. I'm just backed into a corner right now and pointing fingers everywhere possible except for at me. So this one's on me. I'll own it up. I fucked up. Jim Calhoun voice. That's on me. So, but Tour Championship. What is your general vibe for this week? Like, are you amped? It's almost kind of like for me, it's like Super Bowl week. You get excited to be, but once you get excited thinking about it, but once you're actually here, it's kind of a letdown. You're like, what the fuck? And there's so much build up to it. Definitely not like the same amount as a Super Bowl, but it just doesn't feel like it's quite got the juice once again that we talked about. But this week just isn't anything like crazy for me. I'm already looking forward to next year. Like you said, I'm looking forward to Hawaii, things like that. I really don't give a shit about this Tour Championship. I care, but I don't. You know what I mean?
right. Well, so for me, the really interesting storyline is obviously Scottie Scheffler, who's been the best player in the world for 2 straight years, but hasn't been able to win a FedEx Cup. And then you've got kind of the trickling storylines of obviously the base of the whole thing is who's going to win the Tour Championship. That's the reason they're all playing. But last year we saw Victor Hovland kind of come out of nowhere, win the BMW, and then go on to win the Tour Championship. So you're looking at a guy like Keegan Bradley. Is he going to be the one that goes back to back again? Is that a possibility? You know, I used to think personally back in the day that once somebody won a tournament, I was kind of out on them the next week. And in reality, the last 2 years on the PGA Tour, if you were to just bet the guy to win the tournament that he just won, the tournament after he just won, I think you'd hit like 3 or 4 winners. I think we've had a couple of back-to-back guys win events. So it's not totally out of the question. But really for me, the question is Scottie Scheffler, can he win a Tour Championship finally? And then if he can, and Xander Schauffele wins, it's really a who's who of who had the better year between those two, because that's already been talked about. Some of the tour players have sided. I haven't seen a ton of guys side with Scottie. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was like Max Homer or somebody that said Scottie's had the better year. But the ones that were clipped and made into reels from PGA Tour and from all the other, social media platforms were guys talking about the fact that Xander Schauffele winning 2 majors has had a better career, or excuse me, has had a better year than Scottie Scheffler. So if Xander wins the Tour Championship this weekend, I do believe that that fully surpasses Scottie for the best season. And if Scottie wins, I do think he's got Xander right now, personally, just with all the wins, the gold medal, etc. But I think that Scottie Scheffler's got the better season right now, but Xander Schauffele's will be better if he wins this Tour Championship. And yeah, can you pull up that one graphic for us real quick? So for those of you guys that are new here, welcome to the Golf Podcast. We got this from the Underdog Twitter, but this is how this week is going to work. So this is not your normal, this isn't your father's golf tournament. So everybody's not starting at the same level. So it's like a track meet almost. They're starting staggered, and it's based on the points for the entire year. I'll go on to stop mansplaining this, but basically we got this graphic here. So Scottie Scheffler, points leader. He's starting at 10 under. Xander Schauffele came in second. He's at 8. Hideki Matsuyama, very interesting because he pulled out with a back injury last week. See how healthy he is coming into this Tour Championship. Starts at 7. Keegan Bradley vaults himself all the way up to 6 under. Ludwig Åberg at 5. And then you've got Clark, Burns, McIlroy, Morikawa, Cantlay at 4. And then the rest of the players at 3, 2, 1. And then Chris Kirk, Tom Hoge, Aaron Rai, Christian Bezuidenhout, and Justin Thomas, the 30th guy in, making it even par. So any of those guys are starting out 10 back of Scottie Scheffler. And I don't know if you looked at this, but can you guess who has the worst odds to win this tournament / highest odds to each way 1 through 5, like we've picked on the Bet365 app?
Is it Taylor Pendrith or Matthew Pavon?
Matthew Pavon again.
Dude, they have been
Books hate
throwing out
that
some
guy.
outrageous odds on that. Well, dude, he had such a good in like we've talked about previously that like with Vince India and stuff, these guys get on these 2 month like hot streaks. They get real hot for a month or two. And that's why it's so hard to predict. But like Pavon looked like a world beater, in April, May into June. And then he's just fallen off an absolute cliff. And now he can't break par. And it has happened before, but like I was late to the party, of course. I was still picking Matthew Pavon in our bets, unfortunately. But yeah, it's absolutely insane to me that this guy at one point I'm like, is he going to be like a top 5 player in the world? Like he seemed like full steam ahead, contending in almost every event, contended at the majors, almost won the US Open. And now all of a sudden he's like the worst, uh, the worst player in the field at the Tour Championship. But just who are a few names to you that stick out that like, the math isn't mathing? Because like I look at Sam Burns, he's starting at 4 under, he's 7th from the top, he's 9th in the FedEx Cup, so he's tied at 4 under with 2 other guys. This year he's got 2 finishes in the top 3. He has no wins. He has 8 top 10s, which is solid. But he just is not having a spectacular year by any means. Like I feel like every single dude that's in the top 10 should have won this year. And that's where the FedEx just doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess that's more going back to like the tiered system of the signature events and how you do in those and getting more points. Because there's certain dudes where I'm like, why? Like it doesn't make sense that this guy is there. Even like Ludwig Aubert, he is not. He's had 3 second place finishes this year, but he has 8 top 10s and 18 events. He hasn't won. Like I, there's just not.
Did he not win this year?
No, he's not won this year.
Did he win last year then?
Yeah, he won last year.
Okay, because I was kind of under the semi subconscious impression that he hadn't won a PGA Tour event yet. And then before I said it, luckily on this podcast, because that'd be one of the 100th dumbest things I've said on this podcast, but I looked him up and then he does have a PGA Tour win. So I don't know. I was maybe thinking that he was the only guy, but I think he won the RSM or something.
Yeah, so not a huge event, or maybe something in Texas. It is crazy though. Like when I just thought about this, the biggest breakout star this entire PGA Tour season was probably Xander Schauffele. Like winning 2 majors, that I feel like for him being on the scene as long as he has, he's still like the biggest breakout star because we did not see Aubert take that next step. We didn't see any of these other young dudes really take that next step. I wouldn't say there's no rising stars, but it feels like the crop of guys that is in their early 20s right now. Like Akshay Bhatia kind of made a step, but he's fallen off towards the end of the season. He hasn't had a lot of great finishes. They're just, I feel like there's less and less guys really in the mix. Like it's becoming a very top heavy, and I guess that's how the PGA Tour with these signature events and the FedEx Cup points wanted to make it, was to really highlight the stars, but the stars are not like starring. Besides, and I hate using that term, like the math isn't mathing, shit like that. I think it's corny. But besides Scottie Scheffler and Xander Schauffele, who do you really feel like is a star on the PGA Tour right now?
Not a star that's playing like a star, like you said. Like you have your Rory McIlroy, who's not playing very good golf right now. He's struggling. You have your Justin Thomas, who barely made it into this event, who I'm shocked is in the top 30, to be honest. That's like my biggest shocker. Now, all of these guys have had really solid seasons, like even a Bezuidenhout or a Pavon. They've won very early, but then not had a lot of great after that. But it's those T8s that they keep getting that you don't really notice as a fan. They're like 6 shots off the lead. They're done early on Sunday, but you stack enough of those up, especially in the Siggies, in the signature events, and you're able to put together a season where you're in the top 30 going into and able to play in the Tour Championship. But realistically, how many guys do you think have a realistic shot at winning this weekend? And then I'm curious because it kind of feels this way to me. Don't you feel like this is the one tournament of the year where the first round is like really electric and matters? Because somebody has to basically, Scottie Scheffler never shoots over par. He pretty much like he's done it like once or twice in 4 years. He's already at 10 under. So I feel like this is the one tournament of the year where every year or every tournament we watch every single week, Thursday, it's exciting. You got golf on for 4 straight days. We love that. But the first round, there's always some random dude that shoots 10 under, 9 under, whatever. And then they finish the tournament at like 11 or 12. They're passed up by Saturday, and it's kind of a afterthought. This week, if Scottie Scheffler goes out and shoots 7 or 8 under the first round, it could be over. And then it also is a lot of intrigue for the guys at 3, 4, 5. If they can go out and fire 6 under, 7 under, and Scottie stays around even, Scottie and Xander are around even, a couple under par, then you've got a tournament all of a sudden. It basically can go one of two ways, which it never does in a normal tournament. Like a Thursday, somebody shoots a low number, you're like, okay, well, they're not guaranteed to win. There's few wire-to-wire winners. But with the staggered start and people starting at different positions, I feel like this week makes Thursday a must watch because Sam Burns, maybe one of my picks, maybe not. We'll get to that here in a bit. But if he goes out and shoots 7 or 8 under the first day and he's at 12, all of a sudden, even if Scottie shoots 5 or 6 under, Sam's right there. And that goes for a lot of guys. Wyndham Clark goes for Rory, goes for Ludwig, like all those guys right in that.
Ludwig.
Yeah, you like that? I said it was
threw,
like I was
threw
going
a
to
little
say Aubert, but then I said Ludwig.
Threw a little spice on the end of that. No, I will say, you done with your big run-on sentence there? Because I was going to say, I was going to answer the question that you asked me. I think anybody at 4 under, that's the cutoff. Realistically, even then, coming from 6 shots back. And the other thing, too, is like, obviously you have Scottie at 10, but then you have Xander at 8. Like, between those two, one of them is going to play well enough to probably, given this start, get it at least to 20 under. So these other guys are going to consistently they're going to have to play 4 rounds of really good golf to catch him. And that's, kind of the point of the FedEx Cup. But I don't love the concept. I wish they'd go back to the, winning the FedEx Cup versus winning the Tour Championship, that kind of thing. But I don't see anybody coming from more than 6 shots back. And even then, I think that's a stretch. I think you could more narrow it down to, the top 5 guys, Keegan Bradley. And that's the other thing, too, is like, what a odd top 5. You have Scottie and you have Xander, obviously very good seasons. Then you have Hideki, who's hurt, who withdrew last week. Like, we don't know his status. We don't know how healthy he is. And then you've got Keegan Bradley, who just turned back the clock, won a big event that we didn't expect him to win, but it doesn't feel like he's in the same ballpark. Like, you give Keegan Bradley truth serum, he's not going to be like, yeah, I can beat Xander or I can beat Scottie Scheffler. Like, he's past his prime. Let's just be real. He had a great week last week, played his ass off, but he's not going to turn around this week. And I hope this is an all-time clip if Keegan goes out and wins this shit. But he's not going to come out, in my opinion, this week and have another world-beating week. And then you have Ludwig Aubert, who we know has all the potential in the world, just hasn't really got it done this year. Having a pretty good season, but nothing too crazy. And then, Sam Burns is not that at 6 or at 4 under. Sam Burns is not that enticing to me. Cantlay, possibly, but he's at 4. And then Morikawa and Wyndham Clark, a couple of mid-offs there at 4 under. So I just do not like, dude, Wyndham, I'm going to hold on to him screwing me last week for a while. Like, I was already kind of on the fence about him, and now him making just an absolute mess of that back 9 to hose me last week. He may be blacklist material, and I think we'll find out. We don't have him this week, but by early next season, I've got Wyndham on my blacklist radar.
Oh, he's on the blacklist watch. Interesting thing about Hideki, I wonder if Hideki did how when you're in high school and you're like, oh, I need only a 65% on this test to be able to keep a B in the class. You know how everybody does that? I wonder if Hideki did that last week at the BMW. He's like, this is a fucking hard walk. My back hurts. Am I still making the, like, what's the story of me making the tour championship? Oh, I'm in? Cool. See ya. I'll see you guys at Eastlake. He's probably already been playing multiple rounds. Not saying he's faking the injury, but I bet there was some internal stuff for him where he's like, I mean, he's still third. You know, Xander Schauffele was the only person that could overtake Scottie last week for first overall in the points race if he would have won at Castle Pines, which he did not. But Hideki was probably like, oh, I'm going to start in third, even if I withdraw right now. Cool. I'm out. Some interesting things that they're adding to Eastlake or changing this week. There's 2 different fairways that will be internal out of bounds. Before we get into the exact holes, what's your personal opinion on internal out of bounds? I personally think it's the dumbest thing in golf.
Yeah, I think it's pretty dumb as well, but by the same token, if you have dudes holding up play, like purposely aiming into another fairway, because they talked about on 18, there's really nowhere to hit the tee shot that takes the water out of play unless you just lay it way back. So a lot of guys were aiming down 10, and they just actually, it's kind of funny because they just announced this internal OB today. So they probably did not really consider this until these guys are out here playing practice rounds, just turning it into a fucking free-for-all out there, aiming down every other fairway. I feel like Victor Hovland is the king of that, like finding different lines to play it on. Like at Augusta, I've seen him do it a few times. There's always dudes looking for an advantage. But yeah, in general, internal OB, like at the Rocky Mountain Open, for example, there's a hole where it's only OB on one hole. So the 10th and 11th run next to each other. If you hit it over there from 10 onto 11, it's not OB, but if you hit it from 11 onto 10, it is OB. So what do you think of that? Or actually flip that. But either way, I think that's kind of wild that if you're going to do it on one side, you got to do it on the other side, right?
Right. Well, reading this article on the PGAtour.com talking about it, so they did say it was Scottie Scheffler that was toying with playing the par 5 18th to the par 4 10th fairway. And it does say in here specifically, the 10th fairway has been designated as internal out of bounds when played from the 18th hole. So I'm assuming that is speaking on, like, I don't know exactly the whole layout of Eastlake off the top of my head, but I would imagine if you hit it into 10 on a different hole, 9 or 11 or wherever the fuck they else connect, that's not out of bounds. Like it's just a really bad golf shot. But basically they're taking out the intention to play up the 10th hole from the 18th hole. And then they're also making the 7th fairway internal out of bounds while playing from number 6, which are 2 parallel holes as well. So it says the decision, quote, the decision was made primarily out of safety concerns, specifically to prevent players from effectively putting people in harm's way by taking an alternate route, said Chief Referee Gary Young. When it sounds like that is going to be a possibility, it necessitates an internal boundary. So I guess if you're looking at it for safety purposes, I can kind of get on board with it a little bit, but overall, internal OB is insane to me. When I played my PAT, they had internal OB everywhere. At good old fucking
Fitzsimmons.
Fitzsimmons, not even a golf course anymore.
That's how you know you're getting old.
OB, they had to shut it down.
Wait, real quick on the rules subject. Like, did you see the whole Matthew Fitzpatrick situation last week?
It kind of went viral, but I didn't like actually watch or like take the time to sit down and like hear about it.
So his driver had a crack in it, and he shows a rules official. They basically deemed that it wasn't significant enough. And I guess it's just like an eye test. Like the rules official kind of basically makes the call, whether it's bad enough to replace or it isn't. And they didn't allow him to replace it. And then he hits his next tee shot, and it just like fucking knuckle duck hooks, like goes like 150 yards, and then everybody lost their shit. I think it's pretty crazy that if a player clearly thinks that his club is broken, that the tour can just be like, no, it's not broken. Like it's either broken or it's not. Where's there a line drawn? And that's where the rules of golf just get so hairy, is there's so much gray area. It's like, it's either fucked up or it isn't. Like, how can you not tell if there's an actual crack in the face of the driver? And by the way, you look at Matt Fitzpatrick's head of his driver, and there's literally a wear spot just right in the center. Like that is truly just what sets tour players apart is they just wear the middle of every single club out. But it was
They
clearly
actually hit
cracked.
they actually hit the part of the club that you're designated to hit all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the goal of golf in general. But I just thought that was a crazy story. Like there, and even I think Scottie Scheffler was playing with him that day, and he agreed. He said that like, yeah, it looks cracked to me. Like I think he should be able to replace it. The rules officials just shut it down. Like they just pissed all over Matt Fitzpatrick's parade there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, especially for a nice guy like Matty Fitz. Before
Yeah.
we get out of here, every Wednesday we do one of our favorite segments. It's called Fairway or Fore. So that's where we bring up two different scenarios that could happen to us or did happen to us, and then decide whether or not you think that is fairway or you think it's Fore. And I'll start us off this week. This actually hit me when I was driving today and texting at the same time, trying to tell someone when I was going to be at a certain time, where I was going to be at. And fairway or Fore, nothing takes like 17 minutes. It's either 15 or it's 20. You know, like I would never, in my mind, nothing takes 1 to 4 minutes. It's either I'm there or 5. Nothing takes 6 to 9 minutes. It's 5 or 10. I don't know. I don't know if that's just the way my mind works. Like I never think of things as like in actual minutes. It's 12, it's 15, it's 20, it's 30, it's 45, it's an hour.
Yeah, I would mostly agree with that. I'm not that precise either where I'm like, or I would say if you give like an ETA and like ETA says my map says 13 minutes, I think that's not a problem. But if you're just guesstimating and you're like, I'm guessing I'm 12 minutes away, like that's psycho shit.
No, I know.
So
But I even like, this is fun. I'm outing myself here a little bit, but if my ETA says 13 minutes, I will tell someone 10.
see,
Like
dude, you
I
need to
won't.
tell them the opposite because you're always late. You love lying to people about when you're getting somewhere, and it's like as clear as day. Because actually, I have your location, and your wife also has your location. You have my location. I don't know if that's a weird thing. That's a good fairway or Fore. Is sharing your location a fucking weird thing? Have we talked about this?
I don't think so.
Okay, because my girlfriend thinks it's really fucking weird that we have each other's locations. I'm like, who cares? Like, I mean, I obviously don't want the government to have my location, which they probably do if I'm sharing it with you. But I can see when you're at like, and it gives me a legitimate ETA. Like it says you're 17 minutes away, and you're telling me 10. I'm like, you're a fucking liar. And especially with the way you drive, there's no chance that number's less than 17 minutes. It's more like 20 minutes. It's more like 23 minutes. So
I am trying to be better about that. I'm trying to overestimate instead of underestimate, because it feels
yeah,
really good when I overestimate and then show up earlier. That's really
yeah.
hype. Doesn't happen often, but
I mean, that's life 101. You under promise and you over deliver. You're always over promising and then under delivering. It's very, very underwhelming. Um, and that's not just driving, let me tell you. So my actual fairway Fore is also driving. Cause there's a lot of exits out here in New Jersey that it's like a 1 lane exit, and people like stack up for like half a mile to a mile in that lane. Everybody slowly like just fucking just sauntering up to the exit because it's kind of backed up. Are you an asshole for I think that in my opinion, I guess I'll ask the question, but are you an asshole for driving up in the lane next to it and like scooching in last second? Like if it's not impeding traffic behind you, like if you slam on your brakes in the lane that's not the turn lane in order to try to squeeze in and you're holding up traffic behind you. But I'll tell you my opinion. I think that if you have a bunch of cars that are in the 2 lanes, then the exit will go faster because then they just kind of zipper in. You know, the old zipper thing where one car, like everybody kind of just combines together, and it works faster that way instead of everybody being in 1 lane. Like that's how I justify it in my own head. But do you think that's a dickhead move? And it obviously depends on the situation, but do you think that's an asshole move in general?
I think if you do it intentionally, it's an asshole move. You're never going to be able to tell someone's intentions, but I think if you purposely drive past all the people waiting in line and then dip in, that's what makes the line take even longer. So sometimes you can't, like you're in a lane where you think it's maybe 2 exits and then you try to get over last minute because you have to. I think that's an okay move. But when you're intentionally like, okay, I'm going to drive up to the front of this line and then cut in, I don't let those people in because I'm generally the person that's like waiting. I like to get over and be ready to get off my exit. So it just depends, but you can't quantify that. So it's hard to say.
See, and that's the other, it's like a eat or be eaten kind of world out here, at least on the road in New Jersey. And I mean, you see other people doing it all the time. So I feel like you're either the dude that's getting cut off by the guy that's coming over, or you're the guy that's coming over and cutting somebody off. So it's like, you're kind of choosing who you want to be. As of recently, I've more gotten behind the idea of just going and cutting somebody off. Like, I don't give a fuck. When I
in your
I
Hyundai
went and
Elantra, just fucking flying over.
fucking whiskey throttle it into the turn lane, fucking just full throttle the whole way. But yes, I justify it to myself now more than I ever have. I think it's not an asshole move because there's a lot of people that just aren't paying attention. And, you know, they leave 4 or 5 car lengths. I'm obviously not going to cut someone off and like make them slam on their brakes. I'm just going to ease in like I was never not there.
Oh yeah. Now that makes me feel a little better when it's not so stacked up where cars are moving a little bit and then there's inevitably someone slower and you just kind of dip in. I think that's fine. But when it's like bumper to bumper and then you're sitting there with your blinker on, like waiting to get over because you just fucked everyone and drove faster than all them for the last mile, that's when it gets messed up to me.
The thing is, it's an asshole move, but it's a necessary move.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like
exactly.
It's like when you're really tired on a plane, you shouldn't lean back, but you'll do it because you're like at that point, you're like, fuck it, I'm already here.
Yeah. You're like, what else could go wrong? Just do it right now. I'm fucking tired. I feel that.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, otherwise, you're sitting in that turn lane and you're looking at everybody flying by you and then getting in the lane and you're like, why didn't I fucking do that?
Yeah.
So then you take 10 minutes sitting in a turn lane where somebody just got through it in a minute or two and you're like, why am I not doing the same thing? So I just think it's like a dog-eat-dog world. You got to be that dog that flies up to the front and fucking slides in there.
100%. Well, it'll be fun to see which dog flies up to the front and slides into a couple $10+ million and a FedEx Cup championship. Will it be Scottie? Will it be Xander? We will find out this weekend. That is enough Big Drive energy for you. I am at Big Drive Spence. He is at Big Drive Mitch. Follow us on all the social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We've got it all for you there. We'll be covering the the Tour Championship, all weekend. Top 30 players. I don't know if we're going to have a surprise, but it would be fun to get someone up there and kind of open the conversation again of Scottie Scheffler in his season if he doesn't win it. But it'll be all weekend long, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We will talk to you guys Sunday afternoon, another happy hour, Big Drive energy after the Tour Championship is over. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy college football starting. NFL is 1 week away. It's the best time of the year. We're almost to the fall. We will talk to you Sunday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.